Hi everyone, I'm so happy that you're here to join me for the Way of the Animal podcast. Welcome back, Alastair. Got our cups of tea, we're all ready. Yep. And today's topic we thought about talking about sort of connecting to your inner guidance, your intuition, your inner being, and even sort of getting into maybe like tools you can use to help you connect with your inner guidance. And I don't know, where does inner guidance come from? It's like a big topic there.
It kind of meets in with that gut feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's more than that because you can get more than just a feeling.
Yeah.
When you listen.
So where do you want to start?
That's a very good question. I was thinking, should I define your inner guidance? But I think everyone has their own way of, like, hearing your inner guidance. Does that make sense? I
think a lot of people don't have a way of listening to their inner guidance and either need a tool to do it or just are blissfully unaware.
And then there's that thing, like, it's a lot for what I do with talking, showing people how to connect with their animals and doing their animal communication and that side of things, is our logical mind is very quick to come in and try and make everything make sense.
Yeah.
And that can take us out of that space of hearing inner guidance and things like that.
Definitely. And so one of the things that brought us onto this was talking about tarot cards, but it also leads into very similar to like horoscopes and things like that. That same sort of idea of giving guidance to someone. And I think it's one of those difficult things because I think a lot of things like horoscopes and tarot readings seem very out there.
They have a bit of negative stigma around them, but then when you think about it, I think a lot of, for want of a better word, the more witchy things, it's, I think it, there's a whole topic, mind thought that's just come up, that sort of feeling of women tend to be more intuitive or show it more, and with the witch trials and all that, sort of trying to push women down because they are very intuitive, came sort of this negativity around the idea of connecting in with intuition, with it's not even predicting the future, it's just understanding the way things could happen. I don't know, it's really hard for me to put this into words, I have to say.
Yeah. So what just came up to me there was when you think about, like you're saying, like tarot and runes and horoscope, and I'm sure there's a million other, reading the bones.
Tea leaves.
Yeah, all of that. What I would throw in with that lot is ink blot tests.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a recognized scientific thing.
Yeah.
What do you see when you see this?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the same idea.
Yeah. I'm like, my mind is going quiet, which is really helpful. But it's really interesting because, tarot, I had a fear of initially.
Yeah.
And I think it was the idea that something could predict my future and tell me my future, because there's a fear of not wanting to know my future because then it might be bad and then I don't want to know. And, there's a whole sort of, and that was obviously a lot of it was to do with the state I was in, where I was in my life and things like that. And I also think, like, there's so much more to unravel here, but I also feel like tarot and horoscopes, they can't actually predict your future because everything's always changing. One decision you make, one choice you make at certain points just makes the path go a slightly different way. And
so like horoscopes I know and it's recognized and known that horoscopes are kind of generically written, so that most horoscopes will have some way to connect to it.
But I think that is also untrue.
Okay.
And I think it's when they are written by people who aren't actually knowledgeable about the subject.
Fair point. Yeah, when they're more mainstream.
Yep. I think I mean I do not understand astrology, cosmology, the whole. Yep. I don't understand that. I've not studied it, and I know of someone who has. And it's very interesting seeing what they perceive as like the energies of the way the planets are interacting with each other.
Yes,
and
yep.
You know, that's where a lot of that comes from, you know, and the way the planets are, where they are with the moon and the sun and everything else.
Yeah. It's because from my side of things, when I think about it, I know of like mentalists and things like that who are able to, you know, mind read and things like that. And it's all done through a specific, you know, reading the person and probabilities and all that. There's a very scientific way that they can make it seem like they're telling you about yourself that they couldn't possibly know, but they do somehow know it.
Yeah.
There is a very scientific way to do that, and it is possible to do that if you're trained in it. So there is that side of it, but I think from coming from the other side, what I feel with everything like that, tarot included, is that it's not so much about that, it's more about how you interpret what you see. Same as the ink blots, same as anything else. And I think if you open yourself to the interpretation of things, you're just opening yourself into that intuition. And if it's focused inward, you know, how am I dealing with this? What should I do? And we always laugh about it. It's like you do a tarot reading and it's like, well, yeah, of course I knew that's what it was going to say. Yeah. But of course you knew that's what it's going to say because it's your subconscious speaking to you.
Yeah.
It's like it's using a set of tools to try and connect.
And it's also, it's like a mirror.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, sometimes we don't always see what's right in front of us. So, you know, you're saying, of course I knew that. You know, sometimes you don't. You don't realize. Yeah,
quite often you knew it.
Yeah.
But you weren't aware that you knew it until someone said it and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough.
And, you know, with the reading cards, the tarot cards, the oracle cards, they all have images on them. And I always feel like, because I've got decks of cards and that I've used for years.
Yeah.
But I can get a card and see something in the image that I've never, ever noticed before. And that's part of that message that I'm here right now. It's your
changing perception on a day-to-day basis of how you are.
Yeah.
Focusing on other things. I suppose it's kind of a much more subtle, but the same effect as when you get yourself a new vehicle and you see them everywhere.
Yes.
I can't remember what that effect's called, but there's a psychological thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be the new vehicle. It could be the color of a car, whatever. But then you start seeing it everywhere. Whereas the percentage of that was always there, but it's just now that you're kind of tuned into it.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I looked a bit more into the detail on tarot, like a tiny bit. And really there's as usual, because history is what we're told has happened, but we don't actually know what happened. We don't know what really happened. And you know, originally it was a card game, perhaps a bit like bridge.
Yeah.
But then there's deeper connections beyond that. And then there's, with the tarot particularly, there's specific meanings for the cards, and then everyone gets really excited about the death card, but the death is there's not necessarily about there being a death, other than a death rebirth.
Yeah.
You know,
it could be the ending of something, a phase in your life, or ending of a problem even. So it could be a good thing. Yeah.
It's just, and again, it gets into reading cards or seeing things, hearing things, whatever, it's always your perception, your interpretation of it.
Yeah.
And I've spoken about it before, doing sort of animal communication things and hearing things from the animals or seeing things from the animals. I have to be very careful that I don't translate that in a perception view of myself, that I keep it literal to what I've been shown or heard, because that's where you're, misinterpreting messages.
I think it's very, very hard to try and completely remove that. But
I also feel like if you're using that ability to connect with your subconscious, your inner guidance, whatever it is, you become familiar with how it works, how it shows you things, how you see things. So then, like I said, when I do an animal communication and I hear something or I feel something, the way I understand it, perceive it, I feel like it's shown to me in a way that I would understand and perceive it. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. And when I think about it, I'm forever a skeptic about things. And when it comes to tarot especially, I think that what it is like your ink block tests. It is a way to interpret and communicate with your subconscious, much like doing hypnosis or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It's the same idea.
Yeah, definitely. What was really interesting is I did a little bit of an experiment with it, because I did a Zoom call with my Facebook group that I have, talking about the tarot, because I've been doing some sort of general readings on our group just for fun, see what people get out of it, and they've been enjoying them. And there's been a lot of questions about, how does this work, wanting to know more. So I did a little get together and I put some cards up. Like we've got 3 tarot decks, so I haven't actually got many, and I did like the same card from each deck.
Yeah.
And then we compared imagery, and even just in one card, seeing what each of us saw. What stood out. And it's just like what I could see was completely different from what the other people in the group could see, And that's their message.
What
I could see was my
message.
That's their message, their connection, what they needed to see at this point in time, Mm-hmm. And that kind of really showed me how it's just individual,
So then with that, taking it to the extreme, do you think it matters what card would land in front of you?
No, I think the right message would come.
So the cards in themselves are just a way to focus your mind and to say, I'm thinking in turn, I'm listening to my intuition, and
they're a tool.
Yeah.
They're definitely a tool to connect in. That's my feeling with what they are. And, the cards, they come, you have the imagery on the front, maybe a few words or whatever, got a name for the card. And then in the book that comes with it, generally, there is a further description about it. And you can read that description a bit like looking at the picture, and certain sentences stand out. That sentence is for me. That's my message.
That's it. Just words seem to jump out at you.
Yeah. And it's the same. It's the same thing as just looking at a card. You're getting the words, but that's the same way as sometimes you'll notice that this, the TV seems to be showing you something, or you notice something when you're out and about a lot. And if you're in tune and aware, these messages come through. I've had it with a coyote. There was a while that I couldn't stop seeing coyotes, so I had one that followed me when I was walking the dogs. I had one that came and caught up with me on the quad bike when I was with the dogs. I saw one on the road, and then they were coming out in cards, so I stopped using the deck that had the coyote card. And then I happened to watch a reading on YouTube, and the coyote card came out again, and that was all about for me, the message was coyotes are known as sort of tricksters.
Yeah.
And it was like I was tricking myself. I was making myself believe that I was less than I was. And, you know, it was something that once I worked through it, I stopped seeing coyotes everywhere. But it was just felt like it's sometimes, you know, with that sort of thing with the messages, and I don't know why it is, but it's like they become less and less subtle until they're practically hitting you in the head, telling you.
So what strikes me is it feels like it's a lesser form of hypnosis. So we've done hypnosis together before, and ideomotor responses, so involuntary responses, so you can get someone into a really light hypnotic state, and then you go for getting, usually it's finger responses for yes and no questions asked. Person doesn't do anything, but their finger will twitch when you ask the questions. And well, you're the one that said it done to you. I don't know if am I explaining it right? You know, it must feel pretty weird, your finger twitching.
It's, you know, I think last time we did a session, I felt resistant about it was like obviously a fear I just didn't want to deal with, but I really needed to deal with. And I was really struggling, and you're like, no, I think it would really help if we just kind of figure out what's going on so that you can, like, it was almost like I didn't know what was going on to be able to work through what the problem was. So you were wanting to connect in with my subconscious, and I was really trying not to move my finger. I tell you, I was just like, I don't want this session to, I was like, you know, I was really trying to resist, but no matter what, my subconscious made my finger move. So at times before I would have questioned that, you know, I'm just doing it to please you and make it feel like I'm doing, you know, doing it right or something like that. But this time my mindset was definitely like I didn't want to say, like I really didn't want to look at what I needed to look at. But my subconscious really did. So no matter how much I resisted moving, my finger would move. Like I couldn't not. So it strikes me as being a very similar thing to looking at a tarot card. Looking at a tarot card, you're kind of gently looking for your intuition to give you an idea of it, whereas in hypnosis, you're straight out getting your subconscious to talk and say what it thinks. And I do a lot of subconscious connection as well now, through my healing stuff as well. So, and I think I like looking at the cards and using them because it's like exercising a muscle.
Yes.
When I do it, it brings me, it's almost like it becomes like a ritual and a ceremony. It helps me. If I do it, I don't have to do it every day, but some days I really enjoy to just sit and do it and just connect in. And it's just like exercising that muscle of connecting in and feeling my intuition. And it's when I'm not doing so much work with the animals, doing the distance healing, it's a really good way of keeping that muscle alive and connecting in.
I think it is, and it comes back to what we were saying at the start, that I think some people listen to their intuition all the time. Other people are no, I hear it all the time. I don't always actually listen.
Yeah.
Great example of the other day, I wondered whether or not someone had shut a gate. I was like, I don't think they will have shut that gate. No, of course they will. And despite the nagging it was a blizzard outside and I couldn't be bothered going to the gate. No, it'll be fine. And then it was nicer day to day and I went to go and check. Oh, yeah, nope, they hadn't shut the gate and the cows were out. So I had no reason to doubt the person, but something in my brain was like, you should go and check that.
Yeah.
And that's just intuition. That's just.
And then you always kick yourself when you haven't followed. I was like, damn.
I managed to save the problem before it was too big a problem.
But you're like,
so it's fine. But it could have been a bigger issue. And
I always call it now, when you hear things, just follow the thread. Just pick it up. I like that. Even just pick it up and just follow the thread.
Yeah.
And it'll take you nowhere, or it feels like it takes you nowhere. They talk about that if you've been delayed leaving the house or something like that there's a reason you've been delayed and you should wait actually another 5 minutes before you even leave, because it's like, it's just...
Well, we saw that movie, Adjustment Bureau.
Yes.
That was the whole premise of that movie, was that, spilling your coffee in the morning could change your entire day, which could change the path of your life.
Yeah.
But
as humans, it's very easy to get frustrated
by delays and
things when it feels like nothing's working out and things like that. And I don't know, like we're going further into something else here, but I don't know if there's external forces at work or not. I just don't know what to think or believe of that. But I've taken the opinion that I'm just going to trust.
Yep.
That, if things are happening in a certain way, I've just got to trust that they are, as long as I am in alignment with myself and fully aware. I'm not just being a victim to, well, life is bad.
That's a mindset thing as well.
Yeah. So it's very easy to, when, it feels like you're not getting to where you want to go, you become a victim of life is happening to me instead of for me. And that's not helpful.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm very fortunate because I do tend to take the, right, can I have an effect on this? Is this any way in my control? It's not in my control? Okay, well, what's the point in worrying about it then if I can't affect the outcome? But yeah, they were kind of straying off of...
Well, not really.
Keeping into your intuition. But it is the same thing, and it's the same sort of that gut feeling, that, that little niggling, I should maybe...
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I notice it, I feel it with the animals. And I'm sure a lot of people who are very close to their animals do, like, that they'll be like, it's not quite right today.
Yep.
And it's sort of the thing, you take them to the vet and the vet be like, there's nothing wrong with them. But there's something not right.
Yep.
And then a few days later, it usually appears as what is.
I mean, I'll do that with a field of cows or something like that. You go into the field and something's not right.
Wrong.
Something's wrong. Yeah. And you don't know what it is. I mean, what's wrong? I don't know. Well, what makes you think something's wrong? I don't know. But something's niggling at me.
Yeah, like I've done that when we had the sheep as well. It's like, and generally it was someone was stuck upside down, or there was someone stuck
something
in
was not
brambles,
right.
or there was someone on the wrong side of the fence and they wanted to come. It's just like, you just know that something isn't right in the field. Yeah.
I mean, I think on that side of things, you're kind of reading into, you would say, the energy, but the way the herd is, the movements, the body language, the messages there, you're just following all these little threads with your subconscious. And that's what's helping you to find out.
I mean, I talk about it a lot because it's kind of how I experience life.
Yeah.
And being extremely highly sensitive.
Yeah.
Like what you pick up on and what I pick up on. Yep. It's like, and that's why, bigger situations where there's a lot of sensory things, it can be so overwhelming because I'm just sensing everything.
Yeah. For the most part, I can shut out the noise, but I do struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah.
But and that's, I mean, my understanding is that's kind of what autism's like, that it's very hard to shut out the noise, because that's the thing that, I can't remember what the percentage is, but your brain discards, like, it's something stupid, like 90% of the information you take in at any given moment in time, and it just cherry picks, this is the stuff I think you should pay attention to. Now, I think a lot of that stuff just goes into your subconscious, and that subconscious part of your brain sees everything, and it very quickly assesses what it thinks.
And do you think it assesses it then? Is this like a primal thing? It's like a safety?
Yeah.
So then
it'll be threats, it'll be
if your nervous system's being triggered, that's why it feels like, like a week and a half ago, Bria had a seizure.
Yep.
And like she had a nervous system trigger and I helped her settle down from it, but it triggered my nervous system too.
Just a little.
just a smidgen. And I think it took me nearly 3 days to come back down from that. But it was like, those 3 days were rough because everything was a lot. Like,
you were on high alert. Your brain was, okay, we need to look for this problem.
Yeah.
And I would hazard a guess that your subconscious didn't quite know what the problem was. So it was just looking for everything that could possibly be a problem. So you want to see problems? Here they are.
Yeah, hyper aware. It's like, and then that thing is that you tend to have that more of a startle response as well. Yeah. Like there's a little loud noise and you jump out of your skin because you're just in that fight flight mode, ready to go.
Yep. Well, I think that kind of drops into like PTSD and things like that. That coming from, for soldiers and things, coming from a war zone, you're in that hyper aware looking for threats. And then when you get back home, your subconscious is still hyper aware and looking for threats. And if you look hard enough, you'll see things that could be a threat.
And there's even more that comes into it, and I've talked about it, I talk about it with the animals, not specifically on this, is the cortisol.
Yes.
Like, it takes a while to come out of your system.
Yeah. And if you're constantly triggering yourself.
Yeah, if you're constantly stressed out because of your nervous system being the way it is, or you're just constantly stressed, you're high cortisol, and that just...
It's not even that you're stressed, it's that you're running a program, and I really like the idea of this running programs, but your subconscious is running the program of being hyper aware for danger or threats or fears, whatever it is.
But that hyper awareness is stress, because you're keeping your body ready to go. So
that is saying I need to keep my cortisol up to keep myself really alert and really on point for seeing these things. And it's just a feedback loop. It's just constantly doing it.
It's an interesting journey, learning a lot more about nervous systems and cortisol and stuff. And I've always been aware with, like, the dogs are the ones that I spent the most time with, but if they've been triggered, it's a couple of days before the cortisol's fully left their system. And that's that whole thing coming down from it, is if they get triggered again, they're back, they're so sensitive to being triggered again, and just understanding how we help them through that. And then now I'm realizing how I help myself through it.
Yeah, because that's the thing, because it's a slow, steady process to come down, but it's really easy to go back up.
Especially when you're looking for danger.
Well, that's it.
So, like I said, a loud noise startles you. There you are. Cortisol spiked again. Off we go.
Yeah. And that's the, like, self-fulfilling prophecy. That's we're looking for danger. Loud noise, that's danger.
So it's I think actually it's a really challenging human affliction, is we create high stress life and live in it.
Yep.
And I can't imagine, because I think bringing up children, I can't imagine how you can't be much stressed with that. Having had my sister here with my lovely nephews, wow, there's so much that goes on with having kids, and I totally got that there was, but it was just an eye opener. Yeah, it was, and I just kind of, I don't know why this is coming through, but it just feels like, well, we really need to help support parents to understand how they can help themselves as well as their kids.
You don't have to be in that high cortisol, constant stress, constant movement. You can have downtime, but I think it's hard to do.
Absolutely.
But honestly, it's like the dogs.
Yes. Yeah.
Because one of the things we're very adamant about with new dogs and young dogs, and looking at our puppy sleeping there, is that they need to learn there's quiet time.
Yeah.
So there's playtime, there's this time, there's that time.
And as adults, I think we still need to learn there's quiet time. We just we struggle with the quiet time.
Yep.
That can be the hardest thing.
And I think part of the quiet time is because then you are alone with your, and this gets back to your intuition.
Yeah, it's like
you're alone with your inner thoughts.
People should pull out their tarot cards at that point so they can see what they need to look at to help. Because I mean, that session we did with the subconscious hypnotherapy thing with me was, I really didn't want to look at it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to say I don't know why, but I do know why.
Yes.
But I didn't want to look at it. And I think it was because I didn't want to go through the process of dealing with it, because it can be quite hard sometimes. And it was a little emotionally rough, randomly. Out of nowhere. But I feel better now.
Yeah. But that's one of the reasons that people don't have quiet or downtime, is if I don't stop, then I don't have to look at it.
Yeah. And that's where before mobile phones, I think people were better off.
Oh, 100%.
Because it's very easy to just...
the world we live in now is very easy to stay stimulated.
Yeah, stimulated and distracted.
Yeah.
And I am guilty of doing it myself.
All
the time.
Is.
And I notice when I'm doing it a lot, I now go, okay, I am avoiding something. Let's just
see what I'm avoiding. Yeah.
Because really, I want to feel better.
And that's where a tool like a tarot card or something like that can help guide you, just by bringing your focus back.
Slowing down.
Asking the questions.
Yeah. And then there's other
tools
out there, like meditation, yoga, yep. There's movement. Movement is good, going for a run on your own and just, yep. There's a lot of ways that you can connect in that doesn't involve just sitting there quietly.
Yes.
And sitting there quietly is good.
Because I know some people struggle with sitting there quietly.
Yeah, well, exactly. And especially if you have, more problems like autism and things like that, mm-hmm. That can make it really hard to sit still to deal with things, and the movement and
can help.
So it's honestly, it's about understanding yourself.
Yes. And
understanding what helps you to process these things and understand them and heal from them in a way.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just sitting on repeat on that program.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the key things is there's no specific, this is the way that you, because everyone, like you say, is different. And for some people, it's really easy to just sort of connect in with themselves, see what's going on, go, yeah, okay, yeah, knew that, and just move on. Whereas others,
I'm looking at you.
It's really, really hard.
Yep, looking at me.
to not even hard to listen, but just hard to face it.
Yeah, because it can seem scary.
100%.
Especially if you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But apparently I was like so scared I didn't even want to. I was just kind of stuck in that sort of, I'm in this really uncomfortable known of unknown, and I would like to stay here. I don't want to look at it and face it. But, sometimes you have to put on your big girl boots and face it. Or big boy boots or whatever,
Yeah.
It's I just think that we get so lost in doing.
Yes.
And I think the importance of connecting in however we do it doesn't matter.
I think that listening to that inner voice is so important.
Picking up that thread and following it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that inner voice will show you the way that will help you process whatever you need to process.
And it doesn't always have to be, something about yourself, like the whole gate thing. Yeah. Sometimes that inner voice is just saying, hey, I noticed something that you discarded and you should probably deal with that.
Exactly. I can't think of any examples, but there's like a million times that I've had things that are just like,
I'm just going to go and check that.
Yeah, funny little things, Yeah. And then, and I don't know, I've lost count the amount of times. Good job I did that. And there's so many times.
I think everyone can relate to that gut feeling of the, it's like did I turn the stove off?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah. And it doesn't happen but every now and again, it's like, good job that I thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is just part of your subconscious going, I noticed this.
I noticed, you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go sort it type thing. Yeah. Oh, really interesting.
It is. It didn't go where I thought it was going to go.
Never does.
No.
But maybe that means there's just another topic to come through.
Oh, there definitely is. I'd love to have a conversation about subconscious and
well, and we've I think we've touched on it before, but more as an introductory thing. I'll try and make sure before we do the next one is find which one that was, that we can send people that way before they listen to the subconscious one. But thank you very much.